using social media in a different way, playing the slow game, has made it so we've never called a broker, but we have more deals on our plate that our underwriter can even possibly go through in a day.
Real Estate Investing Profits presents Profit Masters with your host, world-renowned real estate coach and investor, Corey Boatwright. Now, strap in and get ready to learn elite wealth-building investment strategies taught by 6- and 7-figure house flipping masters as they reveal their best real estate investing profit secrets to you right now.
What's going on, my party people? This is Corey Boatwright. I am your host today of Real Estate Investing Profit Masters podcast, and I am the CEO of Real Estate Investing Profits. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a phenomenal, amazing, fun day. I am bringing you another just absolutely phenomenal interview, and I'm just excited about who you're getting ready to listen to. His name is Mr. Adam Adams, and we are going to be discussing some of the really big ideas and really his start and what he had to go through to get to where he is today. And he is on his track to building a multifamily empire at Blue Spruce and out there in Colorado. But not only there, working with people just like you, partnering with people just like you, other investors around the country that want to get involved with multifamily and apartments. And it's a really exciting interview. This is a direction that I'm going, and I know that many other investors are also putting their finger in the water, or they're putting their toe in the water to see what it's like. And it's really good. I'll tell you what, it's an exciting world in the multifamily. However, there is a lot of other nuggets that were discussed on here, all the questions that I know you want me to ask the guests. So make sure that we do that. So I'm excited, and I know you are going to get some great value from this interview. I want to ask you a question. Have you downloaded the Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide? If you haven't, text the word profit to 38470, 38470. And if you're interested in wholesaling coaching, we are working with a few more students before we actually raise our rates in the beginning of the new year. Yes, the first time in 2 years, we're going to raise our rates. And some of our students I'm super excited about our students and the results that they're getting. What's happening, though, is we're getting a lot more people that are filling out applications. And that's great, but we can't work with everybody. And so what's important, if you go to coryscoaching.com, CORYS, coaching.com, have a quick 2-minute video and a couple of questions to ask you about your desire and your results that you want from wholesaling. We work with, like I said, some amazing students. Also, when you work with us, you get to hear from another student that's worked with this. So I make it very important to me that whenever you work with us, that it isn't just from theory. I mean, this is a business that I'm doing on a daily basis. We'll close over 100 deals this year, and on track to do our biggest year ever. So it's just absolutely awesome. So give us a shot, all right? If you're interested, and we may see if we're a good fit. coryscoaching.com. All right, let's get on with this interview with Adam Adams out there in Colorado. I know you're going to get a ton from this interview, and I'm excited for you. So here you go, Mr. Adam Adams. What is going on, party people? I'm excited about having Mr. Adam Adams on here. Adam, you there?
I'm right here. How are you?
I'm doing well. Look at that green screen in the background. Man, that is slick. I thought I had my microphone here, my background. Man, you got the whole green screen.
I wanted you to think I was really behind these buildings.
It looks good. It does. I have to admit, it does look really well. It looks good. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Today is not as hot. I'm here in Oklahoma, and so it's been 95, 101 degrees, humid. I mean, it has been just really, really hot. How about you? Where are you calling in from today?
So Denver, Colorado, and today we're good. It's probably under 90 right now, but
Yes.
It's been over 100 for a few days.
Wow. I love Denver. My wife and I have went up there a couple times, but I like the shopping, Cherry Creek shopping. That's cool.
Yeah, they just had a little arts festival last week, and went there and had some fun with the kids.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. And how many kids do you have?
I've got two. My girlfriend has two. So it was a lot of fun. We went and shut those guys down. Shut down the arts festival at 8, and then shut down the restaurant at 10.
Nice. How old are the kids?
Mine are 10 and 6, and hers are pretty similar.
10 and 6. Wow. Okay, cool. Well, awesome, Adam. I'm excited about having you on here. And it's funny. You are in the multifamily space, and I just had one of my mentors and in that area, and mastermind member Corey Peterson, which I think you know as well.
Yeah.
That I think I'll be connecting you guys pretty soon, because he has a podcast as well, and you have a podcast as well too, Adam, don't you?
Yep, Creative Real Estate Podcast.
Creative Real Estate Podcast. So everybody has podcasts, and I think it's great to be able to get the kind of get everything out there for great information. And I have read a little bit on your website from I think it's called the Real Blue Spruce, meaning that the Colorado blue spruce, which is actually one of my favorite trees, that and the Jim magnolia. But the realbluespruce.com is your website, and have a cool picture of your team there on the front of it. If you're listening, obviously you cannot see this, but this is one of the benefits of watching. So you can actually see some of the things that are on here on the website. I would share that screen right now, but if I did, let me just see if I do that 1 second. All right, here we go. Sharing the screen. Everyone should see it now. Yeah, so from the left to the right there, Adam, you're on the far right. Who's the person to your left?
Yeah, so that's me on the far right, and then DJ,
Okay.
who's our CEO. He does a lot with investor relations. We buy apartments through syndication, so he talks to the investors. He puts out some written content. I'm dyslexic, so I like to put out the audio and video. And then Manny, he does all of our market research. So he's a real estate agent. He owns, he's part owner of it's called Blue Spruce Group. So we have 12 agents here locally, and he's just really good at understanding markets, calling Chamber of Commerce, the building department, flying out and understanding what is going on with economic development.
Sure.
And Robin does all the admin, so she's the administrative manager. And then the most handsome guy on there is Brad with the you don't even need to circle him.
Yeah, he kind of sticks out.
So he's a engineer, and he actually does all of our underwriting for the properties. So he actually built this massive template. So if you ever look at any of these free underwriting templates or these $200 underwriting templates, the one that he created would probably be like $10,000 if he tried to sell it. So it is nuts. It's all intertwined with all sorts of different pages, but I guess you have to be a multi-genius to even read it. But that's what he does, and he finds us some pretty good deals. And Chad, far left, does a lot of the social media marketing. Everyone else thinks that I'm the social media king, but Chad's just the one that makes me look good.
I got you. I like it, man. All right. And I want to make sure if everyone's watching here that we make sure that we know who you are. Here you are. Here is Adam. All right. Well, cool, man. I'm going to go ahead and clear this. That looks like a great team, man. Great team. All right. There we go. We should see each other now. Make sure that we are. There we go. Cool. All right. So what area specific, say you're multifamily, so you're in Denver. It's funny, I actually am wholesaling and in multifamily, transitioning a lot into multifamily. We're closing on a 128 deal on July 24th, which is super exciting. But I just actually did a wholesale deal in your neck of the woods in Denver. And I work with some different folks out there, and this amazing market. I can't believe how hot of a market Denver is right now. So why don't you just kind of walk us through who you are, Adam, from a 10,000 foot view, and what area in investing is your expertise?
Yeah, great. I'm a guy that grew up in Utah. We didn't grow up Mormon, but I ended up being a Mormon for a short time, went and did a 2-year mission in Los Angeles, had a lot of fun.
Wow.
And then my stepdad, who grew up Baptist, not that on any of the religion stuff matters or not, but that's just how it was. And he grew up and he was so serious about me getting into real estate. So he's got fourplexes, he's got storage units, condos, and land all over Utah that he usually buys during the tax auction season, which is in October for Utah. And one day he told me that I had to get involved, so we kind of bought some real estate, and that's how I got into it. Other things that I've done or like to do, I was a track star in junior high, set a few school records. I was never good at coordination. I couldn't play basketball worth a darn, but I was a fast runner. And then I played a bunch of instruments and wrote like symphonies when I was in junior high, and I stopped doing that after college. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome. What were some of the instruments that you played? I'm just curious.
Okay, well, literally every instrument, to be honest. So it started out when I was in, I guess 8th grade, and I was learning percussion and tuba at the same time, and I started writing music for my friends. And when we played them, there's this thing called like transposition, like some instruments play in a different key. Their C doesn't really sound like a C, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. So that's not so. Yeah. So what's that? Not a modulation or
transposition, basically. Yeah. Okay. So at any rate, so maybe their C sounds like an F or a B flat or an E flat or even a D. There's all sorts of keyed instruments that it can be in, but anyway, they'll be playing their C within a different instrument. At any rate, I wrote this song for me and my friends to play, and it sounded horrible, but I looked at it and it sounded perfect. And like, they were like, no, when I play on my French horn, it's really an F. And when I play on my clarinet, it's really a B flat. And I'm like,
oh my God.
All right, let me try this again, because that just means you're up a 5th step. That just means you're down a whole step. So like, and I brought it to my college or my junior high professor, my teacher, and I said, hey, I'm going to write a symphony for us. And he goes, no, you couldn't do that. There's no way you can do that, because you'd have to learn every instrument. And I said, okay, well then I'll just learn every instrument. So in junior high, I would take I would tell a kid that I was like, hey, let's go be friends. Like, let's play each other's instruments. I'll teach you the tuba. You teach me your saxophone. And,
love it.
And I got really good at it because there's patterns, and somebody like me is really good with just patterns.
Yes.
And so I just said, it took me like a day to be as good as somebody who had been playing something for 2 or 3 years, just because I could pick up the patterns and be like, oh, this is the embouchure, these are the fingerings or whatever.
Yes.
And so it actually, once you learn, 4 or 5, the rest come super, super fast.
Yes.
And so I did learn them all. And then I wrote a symphony, and we did play it when I was in 8th grade. So
I'd love to have a link to that if you actually have it anywhere.
You know what? It's on those old discs, those old floppies.
You got to put it on like an MP4, man. That's got to be shared.
I'm going to try to. I've still got them saved in a fire safety box. So
most people are going, okay, I'm here to learn about real estate. You're talking about symphonies, but I love that. I love that story. I learned how to play guitar by just teaching myself as well. Read the patterns, the same thing, theory. And I love it. I love, it's interesting. Once you learn how to play guitar, you can play bass, you can play, so I love that. But I didn't write a symphony. So I'd love to hear that. Who was one of your big influences? Going back to real estate, who was one of your biggest influences for investing?
Besides my dad, there was just one other person that was really influential in the beginning, and his name was Reed Quinn. And it was after I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I said I'd got to, kind of get into this. So I actually managed Reed Quinn's 18-plex, his 4-plex, and a condo that he owned. And he taught me how to reposition an apartment. So we basically took his $2 million to a $4 million property. I did all of the work, but he led me the way. He's really the most influential, and still at this time, I call him all the time. He's like a multi-millionaire. He bought like a $50 million property all for cash in Utah, in Salt Lake City, because he just doesn't believe in debt. So he's kind of an interesting guy, very, very smart and very influential in my life.
I love that, man. That's great. And what year is this? Can you give me kind of a time frame?
Yeah, of course. So
You look really young, Adam.
all right. So in 2000, so I'm 37 as we record. Back in 2005, I did my first real estate deal with my dad. In 2006, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. By 2007, I was managing Reed Quinn's properties, and this was 1 year before I graduated college. And in 2008 is when we repositioned his property, and I bought my first multifamily. It was 2008, and that was in Orem, Utah, exactly between the two schools. One's Brigham Young University, and one is Utah Valley University, which is actually the biggest college, which almost nobody knows because they don't have a famous football team.
Sure. Okay. So how big was that unit?
The one that I bought was 3 units. I did a house hack, although it wasn't called that in 2008. So I lived in one of the units and rented out the other 2. Yeah.
I love that. That's great, man. So that was 2008. Okay. And did you so we talk about a lot of times to get to a point in real estate investing, sometimes people are working a regular job or they're doing something, and there's like a breaking point of it. So many times there's a point where it's like, I can either start my own business, I'm smarter than the person I'm working for, or I'm sick and tired of not having my own schedule. And so I want the freedom. Did you have a breaking point in your life up to a point where you went into investing, Adam?
It wasn't exactly how you're describing, but it was a breaking point because while reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, I actually just had a total mind shift change, and I thought differently. So I was being a server and a bartender at the time, and I liked that because there was freedom, and it was exciting, and every day was a little bit new, and I like to interact with people. So that was a lot of fun for me. But I realized if I didn't bartend that day, I wouldn't make money that day. So reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, you've got the 4 quadrants that they talk about.
Yes.
And I wanted to try to get out of this, employee / self-employed mindset. And so that's when I actually said, I'm going to be an apartment owner and I'm going to own a business, is in 2007. And so my business ended up being a property management company. And then which I still was mainly the one working. And then I started a property maintenance company doing handyman work and remodeling work.
Okay.
And I slowly grew that to 13 employees. And whereas I was still in the business, but I no longer was out doing any of the handyman stuff. I was actually just making bids, and I was making more doing that by having 13 employees than I would have ever made on my own. So it was kind of like a learning experience. And then, just multifamily, I was just like, I've got to invest. I've got to do what my dad's always told me, or I've got to double an apartment building's value like Reed told me. So it was less of like, I hate my boss, and more of like, I've been thinking of this all wrong the whole time.
Gotcha. So just a mindset shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great, man. And that is a big key for many of the folks that I interview on here. Is there is that point of where that mindset changes of the business category for the cash flow quadrant, right? Instead of that employee, that business mindset. And also just, I'm thinking about this whole thing in a different way. I should be thinking about it this way, and thinking about it with leverage, and thinking about it in ways that I can scale with a team and not just by myself. And that's where a lot of business owners get stuck, is in this kind of, I can do it by myself, and then taking it to that next level is I need to build a team. It sounds like you got the team aspect of it pretty quick.
Yeah, I've learned that over time. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have what we call a profit master investing strategy? That's kind of your edge, the thing that really impacts the bottom line for you that maybe you can share. A lot of folks that listen to the podcast are in single family, but we have done some multifamily podcasts, and it's been absolutely received with open arms. And I know, again, you and I are both in I'm moving more into the multifamily space. You've been in it for a while. So what is a strategy that you have, my assumption is, for multifamily that you can share that's really impacted the bottom line?
Well, going bigger and faster is always a great strategy. Like, why worry about graduating from single family to multifamily? It's like, if you know what your end result is and you want to have 10,000 doors, switch your focus. But the real key that I actually had in my mind when you were talking about your real profit master investing strategy was just consistency. Because I think that if anybody just stays consistent and keeps doing it, there's always failures every day. There's always, like when you're podcasting, you're trying to get your podcast off the ground, right?
Right.
But it never seems to get off the ground. And you have like 100 episodes in, you're asking yourself, what is the deal? But just keep doing that, because there's a day where all of a sudden it explodes.
Yes.
And so it's consistency in all things. It's consistency in trying to find deals. And it's like all of a sudden some people throw up their hands and say there's no way to find deals. You just can't find deals in this market. And they'll be able to prove that to themselves because of interest rates or because of or Japanese money moving in and paying too much, or stupid money, or too much money out there paying higher prices. But if you just keep doing it, you'll find that you will have that master investing strategy.
That's great. I totally agree. Speaking about finding deals, what is one of your edge ways? What gives you an edge on finding deals? Are you hitting list source on trying to find deals? Are you talking to brokers? What's something that's kind of out of the norm that you found that really has helped you find deals, off market deals? Obviously, I would assume.
Absolutely. And what we've done out of the norm for finding deals is we shifted everything 100%. When we felt like we were having to call brokers, it felt like we were swimming upstream.
Yes.
And so we repositioned ourselves with a podcast and with basically going into all those multifamily groups and posting rather than saying, I'm looking for a deal, continue to post and say, this is what I did. Answer and respond and help other people. And what you'll see is just something massively change and shifts when people see you that way. They're like, well, I know Adam closes, or my teammate who's doing the same thing as me. So using social media in a different way, playing the slow game, has made it so we've never called a broker, but we have more deals on our plate that our underwriter can even possibly go through in a day.
That's great, man. So because of the and would you say podcasting has helped that as well? On getting the word out there, and telling people, hey, if you have a deal, we're interested in working with you, those kind of things.
Yeah. And my favorite thing about the podcasting is those people who have the deals, they'll look up your name, Corey. They'll say, Corey Boatwright, what does he do? And they're going to find your podcast and be like, he's legit. He's been investing forever. He's been raising money. He just closed on 128 units. Yeah. And so they're going to say, this is perfect, because if you're on social, if you've mentioned what you're doing, they'll find your podcast, they'll find your posts, they'll find your LinkedIn. And so that's what we're doing. Is I'm actually, one random thing is I'm on LinkedIn and almost nobody else is there. And I almost fear saying it on your podcast because you're so famous and you got so many followers. But the point is, I recorded 30 something episodes and we post them 3 a week, every week. And it's just me teaching other people how to be syndicators. But I get investors calling me and saying, hey, I want to invest in your next deal because you know what you're talking about. Or, hey, I want to bring you a deal because you know what you're talking about and I know you close. So
yes.
It's just, we totally just changed the plates. We switched everything around to make it just in our favor, I guess.
Well, when you serve, right, and you serve first and you find ways to provide value, you're a value adder, then not that you're looking for it to come back, you could be looking for it to come back, but not that you're expecting it for it to come back. But just and it's actually a biblical principle. People talk about the law of the universe. It's actually a biblical principle that the universe that God made. It actually is, a reciprocity concept that it comes back to you. When you water a plant, if it's in fertile soil being the environment and the place that you water the plant being the piece of information that you're putting out there that's value, that will grow. And when that grows, it is much bigger and it helps a lot more people. And so having that basically something that is a part of your core identity is so powerful, man. And that's why people are attracted to people like you that want to do deals, because they feel like they like, know, and trust you, and you're actually putting stuff out there and you're serving first, not asking what can I get from you. You're serving first, and then because of that, you're not chasing money, but money's actually being attracted to you. Investors are being attracted to you. The type of people that you want to do deals with are being attracted to you. So I love that, but it's not always roses, right? There is challenges along the way, and I love talking about those. What's one of the big challenges in real estate that you've faced, and how did you get through it, Adam?
Honestly, my biggest challenge is probably the challenge that 90+% of the listeners can touch their chest and say he's talking about me right now, and that's that I was doing too much. I was chasing shiny objects, thinking I've got to wholesale, and I've got to fix and flip, and I've got to do multifamily, and I've got to do assisted living, and I've got to do storage units, and I've got to do note investing. And when your focus goes in too many different directions at one time, you're always going to lose. But one, you can learn how to just hone in on one strategy, just one simple thing. That's when you're going to take that's when you're going to benefit and actually go to the next level. So I believe 100% based on my podcast and my meetup groups that I have, I see hundreds of people every single week, and they have the same problem as me. Is they're like, oh, but I can't do multifamily because somebody said that storage units were better, or because assisted living, people are always getting older, so I have to do that instead. Or I don't have any money yet, so I have to be a wholesaler before I'm a fix and flipper. And it's just like, dude, just focus on one thing. Just where do you want to go, and just take that path.
I love that, man. One of my my best friend in the world, Jason Medley, runs a mastermind called The Collective Genius. He talks about how focus is not sexy, but it'll make you absolutely wealthy. And to even add to that, it'll actually give you a lot more peace. Some of the things that come from doing too many things at one time is overwhelm, stress, all these other things. And whenever you're focused, laser focused on one outcome and putting all efforts into that. I joke, as a kid, you had that little magnifying glass, Adam, and that used to fry the little ants on the concrete. Well, you had to put that.
I did that.
Well, yeah, maybe. But if you had to get that hot spot, right? That focus right on one spot, so it can have the most intense intensity to be able to create basically something so hot that would actually burn. And that is the power of focus. There's actually a great book. We'll put a link in here. The Power of Focus speaks to that a little bit more. So I love that you mentioned that. And I think you're right. Most people listening can pat their chest and say, man, that's me. You're talking to me, because it's so easy to get out of focus. And when you do, everything's blurry. So what's a great lesson that you've learned that's helped you get to where you are today?
You've also touched on this earlier. And the big lesson that I've learned as I've gone through is that I can't do it alone. I have to have a team.
I love it. Yep. And if you had to maybe start all over again and you made some changes, what would you do? What's some advice for someone just starting to?
Absolutely 3 things. 1 is just to start. 2 is to think bigger. And 3, we've talked about it, is stay consistent. Just get into it, guys. Like, if you're interested in doing it and you're always like that person who's not focused, always like, what should I do? What should I do? Just do something, because doing something, what is that? I think I've heard you say it, Corey, consistent inaction or proper inaction beats non-inaction. Anyway, there's some saying, and I thought you said it, but maybe it was Matt Terrio.
Matt or Tom Kroll, or there's some other people that talk about basically imperfect action.
Yes.
Yeah. So just taking action, even if it's imperfect, is going to give you a much better results than just sitting there being stagnant. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just getting going and moving. So basically you're saying that you would stop thinking so much and just take some steps forward and get some results.
Yep.
Yeah. It's easy to think, and it's easy to want to figure everything out before you take a step, not necessarily anything bad with that, but sometimes you can sit there and just spin your wheels and you're not moving forward like you want to. Yeah. So I agree with that too. So what's a favorite motivational quote that you have, or business quote? Do you have one?
There is one quote that keeps me going all day, all year, every decade, and that is persistency and determination are omnipotent. Basically saying if you're going to be persistent and you're going to stay determined, you're like a god for other, it's complete, utter, endless potential. It's omnipotence, but you only get there with persistency and determination.
Perfect, man. What books do you recommend? You already mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of my favorites. So many others listening as well. What's one that's really changed your life, really impacted you outside of that one?
Okay, outside of that one, I would say The Compound Effect. And I read that, and it talks about exercise. It talks about how like you could go all out for 2 months, but like a year later, you've lost it. It's just doing small things. It's just making subtle changes, having a salad once a week or once a day instead of, some other type of food. That's how you're going to have those 6-pack abs is like, eating a couple less calories every day for the rest of your life. Or that's how you're going to get into the multifamily, is to focus on little things and keep going. You're not going to see it right off. This is the part where you have to be persistent and determined, because you're not going to see it happening right off with your podcast or whatever. Right. But after you do it for a little while, it all builds up. So I think The Compound Effect is a great one for a lot of people to read.
It is. And have you followed Darren Hardy with other things besides The Compound Effect?
No, I haven't. But I know that he's been all over. He's had some really good mentors himself. And if he wrote a book that good, I would like to read more of his stuff.
Right. Yeah. He actually came and spoke at our mastermind, and the guy was just phenomenal. I mean, really on point and very polished on where he's going, what he wants to do, and what he wants to accomplish. And I was astounded. Actually, I shouldn't have been, but I was astounded just on how much clarity that he had, within his realm. And it was really motivational, man. So I agree. I love Darren's stuff. What did you like about The Compound Effect? What's like one thing about it that you really stuck out to you? Just little, I call it micro commitments that add up after a while. What do you think?
Man, I mentioned a couple. But just to brief one other one is this thing that he talked about with his wife, where he was like, it's her fault. And she was like, it's his fault. And he just said, you know what? I'm just going to make it my fault. I'm just going to make sure that every single day I tell my wife that she's beautiful, that I love her, and that she's smart, and that I appreciate her. And he just found a way to just briefly mention a couple small things like that to her. And they've, a year or two later, because it compounds, they start having the strongest relationship they've ever had.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. I love it. Yeah. What do you recommend in terms of, maybe mobile apps, or are you a techie kind of guy? You strike me as someone that would be a little bit into technology and some of the technical aspects of things. Do you have a mobile app that you use every day in business?
Other people on my team absolutely do. There's a lot of things that we have in the company, and I kind of stay far away from them. I use technology, but I only learn as much as I have to do my job. And I'm mostly a podcaster, and I run meetup groups. So my answer is no, not really, but yes, absolutely. Because within the company, within the 6 people that you saw in that photo, we use tons of technology, but it's just, I stay far away. I podcast. I'm podcasting. I'm using some technology. So
sure. Okay. It's funny. One of the guests I had on here, he came on, and his name was Joe Lieber, and I asked him what his favorite mobile app was, and he's in I think he's in Ohio. He kind of works in the ghetto, different areas. He has over 150 rentals. A lot of them, I think, over 100 paid off. And I was talking about the mobile app, and he said, man, my favorite app, I think it's the bank app. He goes, yeah, the bank app, because every time it just dings every time I get another deposit. That's so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like the bank app. So I was thinking you'd say Trello or something, but
Yeah, we use Trello. I stay away from it. I guess podcast. What is it? iTunes.
sure.
iTunes would be my favorite, or whatever the podcast app is, the purple one with the signs. Because like I listen to your podcast. I was actually just listening to your podcast the other day, and it wasn't in preparation for this. It was because you put out good content,
I appreciate
and
that.
I was learning a lot of different stuff from other people's podcasts. And so you know what? That'll be my choice. That'll be what I say helps business is listening to podcasts because you kind of hear what other people are doing.
Well, I'm going to give you one here that I think you're going to love. All
Okay.
right. So you can write it down. It's called Cast. It's just called Cast. It's actually on, I'm going to put it up here. You can see it. It's called Podcast. It's in the corner there. It might be a little blurry, but it's the red one there. It says Podcast, but it's just called Cast. And the reason I like that one is it actually shows new releases and unplayed, and you can do discover. And the way when you go into discover it, you can just simply type in a name. Like I could type in your podcast and I just hit the check mark, and there's a whole list I can just check down and quickly subscribe to people's podcasts. So, and then I like the way that the layout is. It might be a little crazy, but I like the way it shows a little image of the person, and then you can click on it and go watch it. So anyway, it's called Podcast or Cast that you might check that out instead of the purple one. That one isn't as efficient, Adam.
Got it. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You get 8 hours a day of sleep?
Not usually. I'm like a 4 to 5 normal, and sometimes I get 8 or 9. But I'd say like 4 to 5 is my normal. And it's just because I am up all night, just kind of tweaking things, thinking, planning, writing emails, trying to write my book that was supposed to come out a long time ago. So I'm always up at night, but I still get up at a normal time, So.
Yeah. I sometimes if I sleep more, than 8 hours, I get a little grumpy. Are you that way too? Or do you?
I do. It's a little grumpy, but it's more just like I can't get moving. My body feels like it can't, stretch. I hate more than 8 is usually a bad thing, but sometimes I could get 8 or 9.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you most grateful for, Adam? You strike me as someone that you give a lot of great content. When you wake up in the morning, what is it that, I ask this kind of goes in the combination with, I ask people what their why is. And this is one thing I want to ask you as well, but what are you most grateful for, right now in your life?
Well, when I wake up, I'm grateful that my vision that I had a couple years ago is happening. So I planned a 10-year picture, and then to get to my 10, I had a 5, and then to get to the 5, I planned a 3, and the 3 was going to be a really hard 3 years, like a really terrible 3 years. And I knew that it wasn't going to be easy or fun, but I knew that it was going to make a difference if I did everything the way that I needed to. And when I wake up, I wake up and I hear that Corey Boatwright asked me to come on the podcast. And it's just like, wow, how did I get to where I am? And I just think like, I'm so glad that I'm doing the things that I said I would do every day. And I knew that it would be a hard 3 years, but I see the results starting to happen. And I see that 10-year picture being extremely tangible.
That's beautiful, man. And I appreciate you saying that. It's interesting whenever you put that vision out there and you actually follow it, the results that can come from that. Did you have, you said your dad, you had, say Keener is his name, or what was the guy, Keen? Another guy, I thought you had
Reed.
Reed. So did you have some other mentors or coaches in your life?
No, I mean, all my teachers were and especially my music teachers. I don't know if I told you this, Corey, but I was supposed to graduate college with a music education degree. So my main mentors, the main people that had changed my life by the time I was in junior high and high school, were all music or my track coaches. other than that, no, it's my dad, it's Reed, and then it's people that I've hired.
Right.
So.
I got it. So, music has been obviously a pretty prominent thing in your life, and that meant so much to you. Whenever I learned how to play guitar at 13 years old, I did that out of an outlet that was needed for my growing up. And it wasn't I wanted to learn to play like Yngwie Malmsteen, if you're a guitar player, or Steve Vai, or Joe Satriani, or Stevie Ray Vaughan, depending on whatever you're listening to, or even classical players. It was like I wanted to just have an outlet. Yeah. Was music an outlet for you, or did you want to master something and create, this kind of whole organizational aspect of this music in your life?
Music was the outlet, and the organization, the symphonies were a huge portion of that. You're absolutely right. I don't know how far we should get into it, but at that time in my life, I needed music. It came at a perfect time in my life, and it made a humongous impact on everything that's happened since.
I cannot agree with you more. I won't ask you to go deep into it, but I know
you can see my eyes are already watery.
Yeah. The music is a beautiful way to express things that can't be expressed. Let me say that again. Music is a beautiful way to express things that can't be expressed. And whenever you have that as an outlet, it can really really help with so many aspects of your life, not just your personal life, but again, with business. Because whenever you're creating that symphony, essentially you are creating a team. You're creating those instruments to work together. Side note, Metallica, James Hetfield, the lead singer and guitar player for Metallica. Some people are saying, what are you talking about Metallica here, Corey? We're supposed to be talking about real estate. Now you're going into music. Follow me. Metallica, actually, if you turn off all the distortion, he's a classically trained guitarist. He's a classically trained musician. He actually is extremely intelligent when it comes to putting together all of these different instruments together and creating a symphony. Nothing Else Matters is a perfect example of that, but there's many others. And there's a reason why Metallica standed the test of time, because if you turn it all off, everything works together. And creating something that everything works together is the next level of business when you're kind of this one-man show. If you're a one-man show and you're doing these deals and you make a little bit of money, and that's great, and you prove to yourself you can do it, right, Adam? But then you build this team, and all of a sudden you have to rely on somebody else to do something, and that's scary. Quite frankly, that is really scary. That's dealing with your livelihood. If you have a family, that's dealing with your ability to sleep at night because of stress. That's dealing with how fast you do things compared to how fast they do things. And the reality is that if you were the only guitar player in the band, then you wouldn't have drums. You wouldn't have the bass. You wouldn't have the keyboards. You wouldn't have the beautiful harps on different bands that add these other instruments. You wouldn't have this orchestration of things that is necessary to create the team that you've always wanted, a dream team, right? To be able to accomplish the things in your life. I think it's beautiful. I get it. I hope I'm resonating with you. I hope I'm resonating with our listeners here, that I think that's one of your aspects of your success, Adam, is because you made this transition of patterns and you figured out that really music is just another expression of really building a beautiful business.
Yeah, I like that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you another question, and I know the tears in your eyes already, but why do you do what you do? What is your big why? What gets you up in the morning when you put your feet to the ground? What are you doing all this for? What's your 10-year goal? What is all this for?
Yeah, I've got a why that you never hear. People talk about their family. People talk about freedom. And my real why is legacy. If I die tomorrow, I want people to have said, that I made an impact, that I changed something, that I inspired them. So most of my efforts each day, most of my time each day comes to how to give back, even sometimes before you have the success, how to bring people along with the journey, just to inspire them to get involved. It's, for me, it's 100%. If or when I die, obviously I will, most of us do. I want there to be somebody who comes to the funeral and says, wow, that was a good guy. He made an impact. Or like if Robert Kiyosaki, when he's gone, like he is a legend. And so anyway, that's what I'm hoping to do, is hoping to leave an impact.
Man, legacy, beautiful, and touching the world, have an impact. Again, it's so outside of yourself. Just a beautiful thing that you are on this journey, and I love it. I love where you're coming from. I can already see why you've had a lot of success, because you're bringing other people with you. It's not just the Adam show, I really love that, man. How can people get in touch with you? What can I do to serve you? You have a book you said you haven't finished yet, which I'm encouraging you to get that finished. But
Yeah.
What is it you need right now? What are you looking for?
All right, perfect. Well, the book is all about meetup.com, and that's another excellent way to give back, is by running a meetup.
Can you talk about it just a little bit? How's your meetup going?
It's honestly phenomenal. And it's all consistency. It's stuff that we've talked about. If you really dissect this whole 40, 50 minutes and think about what's like this overlying thing, there's a huge element of consistency, determination, leaving a legacy. And guys, if you do that, like my group that I started just about 19, 20 months ago now, has been the number one most active meetup group, not just real estate, but just the number one most active in the whole state of Colorado. And we meet at lunch. I mean, we have at the smallest, we have 40 people at lunch. At the biggest, we have 176 people at lunch in the middle of the day. And it happened because we reverse engineered what we want out of it. But guys, there is 6 things. Can I give them a free giveaway?
Yes, sure. Absolutely.
And I didn't even know if we were even going to talk about meetup, guys. So that this wasn't actually planned, but I made this for another person's podcast a while back for an ad. And so it's all ready to go. There's 6 things that changed my meetup, that made it the number one, that made Meetup HQ actually fly me out on their dime to Meetup HQ to teach them how I'm doing it. And that these 6 things will help you if that's what you want, is to grow your network, to raise more money. I've raised $4.2 million so far out of my meetup group. Right. So if you're doing this, your podcasting helps, but meetups certainly help. You can get this PDF for free, but you just text meetup, MEETUP. It doesn't matter if it's caps or anything, but just no spaces, to 555-888. So there's not 7 digits in my phone number. It's 555-888.
555-888. Yeah. And you text the word meetup.
Yeah.
All right. We'll make sure we have that on the show notes. That sounds perfect. And what will they get when they do that? They'll get 6 basically steps, or 6. Is it like a PDF that you'll send back to them?
Number one, it's a PDF. They just put in their email, they get a PDF. And then whenever this meetup book comes, I'm writing the book on meetup. It was supposed to come out last month, but whenever that's ready, it'll just email those people that are already interested and just let them have an opportunity at grabbing the book. So.
Got it. Okay. And it's going to be like a free plus shipping book, like free, and then they just get shipping and handling?
On that one, well, times change, but right now it's just, we'll give you a link to buy the book. So it is not a free plus shipping. It's just you buy the book. So
it's just buy the book. All right. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I bet it's going to be a number one bestseller on Amazon. If you get it up there on Amazon, I encourage you, if you're going to do that, I've gotten some books out there. And then once I got the Audible version of the book, John, it really got a lot more traction. So I don't know what it is, but people like to download this Audible. So I would look into getting your book as soon as you get your book finished, to get it into different formats
available
that people can digest it. So
awesome. Appreciate it. I will do that.
Man, I appreciate you. I've just been a great interview, man. I think it's going to be very impactful. I'm excited about your success. I'm excited about the things that you shared, and I think they're very big principles that are lifelong and legacy driven. And that's awesome, man. So I'm excited about your book when it comes out. We'll make sure we got everything on the show notes here. Any final thoughts, Adam, before we take off here?
Yeah, just start, think bigger, and have consistency.
Love it. Well, there you go. Well, thanks, Adam. I appreciate you. And make sure that you're on our next Real Estate Investing Profit Masters podcast. And we're going to bring amazing guests to share some of their best tips and strategies, some of their big ahas, big moments to impact your life. So appreciate you, Adam.
Thank you so much.
All right. Remember, be a servant. Bye, guys.
Hi, this is Corey Boatwright, and I have a quick question for you. What is the fastest way to reach your goals? Is it to work harder, work smarter, use system and processes, or hire rock star employees? What about just making more money? Actually, it's none of that. Those things are a byproduct of the one success component that every real estate investor or business owner that I know all have in common. And the answer is clarity. Complete laser focus on what you want, why you want it, and what are you willing to do to get it. So where do you find clarity? By hiring a coach and mentor. Now, could you reach the level of success that you want to achieve by doing this all on your own? The Lone Ranger. Well, maybe, but do you think it would take you double or even triple the time to achieve it compared to hiring a coach and mentor to help guide your path, provide proven instruction with a tailored blueprint that you could follow for building a real estate business that supports your lifestyle and helps you reach your financial and personal goals? Absolutely. Here's the fact. Time isn't recyclable. So I would like to ask you to make good use of it and extend a personal invitation for you to book a phone coaching strategy session by going to callwithcorey.com. That's callwithcorey, Corey spelled CORY.com. I'm going to ask you a few quick questions on that page, and we're going to go over and see how we can make sure that your business is on path to reach the goals that you want this year. So go to callwithcorey.com, that's CORY, and book your phone coaching strategy session today. Remember, be a servant, and I'll see you on there.
You've been listening to another Real Estate Investing Profits Master Podcast series. To receive your free real estate book, Down and Dirty, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide, how to quit your job to start flipping houses in 90 days or less, head online and go to realestateinvestingprofits.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Estate Investing Profits. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.